Akron, Ohio, once known as the rubber capital of the world. This Ohio city, about 30 miles south of Cleveland, was once one of the central manufacturing locations in the state, with its success in industry and homegrown companies. Like many cities of its region, it has seen much change over the years. This is what happened to Akron, Ohio. Akron, Ohio was established in 1825, just over 30 miles inland from the shores of Lake Erie. It would become an important location on the Ohio and Erie Canal, which would connect the Ohio River to Lake Erie, this providing a link for the Great Lakes and Mississippi watersheds. Early on, Akron saw success in the milling industry. However, in the later half of the 19th and into the early 20th century, rubber would become Akron's bread and butter. It would be during this era that 3 of the largest tire and rubber companies in the world at the time would be founded in Akron. First, in 1870, what would become the B.F. Goodrich Tire and Rubber Company would be founded in Akron. Then, in 1898, Goodyear. And finally, in 1900, Firestone. Much like Detroit would rise with its big 3 automakers, Akron would rise with its big 3 tire and rubber companies. Jobs would become plentiful, and the city would surge in population, going from just over 10,000 in 1870 to roughly 255,000 in 1930. By the 30s, over half of all American tires were being made in Akron. With the rise of the automobile in the early 1900s, Akron's rubber industry would flourish, and the city's rubber industry would even provide supply to the war effort in the First World War. Though the Great Depression would temporarily put a dent in the city's economic prospects, and also was likely the cause of a small decline in population, the Second World War would again boost Akron's economy, and the city would grow again throughout the 40s and 50s. The city would peak at just over 290,000 residents for the 1960 census. It would be from this point forward, though, that Akron's long decline from peak would begin. As Akron's rise would be tied heavily to the rubber industry, its fall would be tied heavily to it as well. Foreign tire makers' products began to penetrate the American market, and eventually, with this increased competition, combined with Akron's existing tire plants becoming outdated, decisions began to be made for the future. First, in 1975, Goodrich would end regular production in Akron. In 1978, Goodyear would follow, and in 1980, Firestone. General Tire, another large producer in Akron, would also shutter tire production in 1982. Even Quaker Oats, which had long had its mill and production plant in Akron, would leave in 1970. Thousands would lose their jobs, and eventually 3 of Akron's 4 largest tire companies would move their headquarters from Akron altogether. General Tire would be bought by Continental, Goodrich by Michelin, and Firestone by Bridgestone, and by the end of the 1990s, only Goodyear remained. The city would be a shell of its former self, with its abandoned tire plants, offices, and supporting infrastructure. Since 1960, the city has lost about 100,000 people. So what happened? Akron, much like Detroit, was far too dependent on one industry for its success. In Detroit, it was cars. In Akron, it was the tires that carried many of those same cars. Overall Rust Belt deindustrialization would take its toll as well, and the effects of that, acquisitions, foreign competition, and other factors would be Akron's undoing. Despite the many job losses, Akron does still have some things going for it. Goodyear is still in Akron and invested over $150 million in a new headquarters, which opened in 2013. Bridgestone would also open a $100 million technical center in Akron in 2012. Gojo, another Akron company, known for Purell, is also still in Akron. The University of Akron keeps the downtown core alive, and the city has seen some revitalization over the years. Akron's population declines have continued, though. It remains to be seen if Akron can turn it around. Thank you for watching.